Mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2. Welcome. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you had a happy Fourth, man. Happy holiday. Hope you're having a good start to your week, man. Here to break down the latest and greatest from the world of sports, and of course, anything else that kind of crosses my radar, man. It has been a good week, man. I ain't gonna even fret. It's been a good week. I'm not gonna hold you guys too long tonight. Just got done finished watching the USA versus Belgium. Belgium takes care of business and go ahead and packs up the U.S. team. Congratulations to the U.S. team for making it this far into the tournament. But Belgium moves on. 4-1 was the final score. We'll be talking about that game and necessarily the circumstances that led up to that game in regards to the red card. But of course, we're going to talk about everything else. First interesting week of NBA free agency is officially in the books. Still a lot of stuff to kind of be sorted out, but we will be talking about NBA free agency and, of course, anything else, man. Anything else, like I said. I'll give shout out those to the person who was made this. What's going on, Mark? It won't be that long of a show. Starting off with NBA free agency, I want to, a couple points I want to kind of get into, and I want to really get into the Jaylen Brown trade. For those who don't know, have been living on the right, Jaylen Brown, superstar forward / guard, formerly of the Boston Celtics, traded to the Philadelphia 76ers for Paul George and some scraps, some picks, some pick swaps. But basically, you gave away Jaylen Brown, sent them off to your rival, Philadelphia 76ers. First thoughts when the trade went down for me. First thoughts when the trade went down. Listen, Jaylen Brown being shop being moved was going to be an eventuality. They've been trying to get him moved ever since he signed that massive contract. Money is a factor in why you get off of a Jaylen Brown, considering that you have Jason Tatum, who is on a $300 million supermax contract. You had Jaylen Brown under a supermax contract. You're talking about two guys roughly under contract for $600 million going forward. Boston was going to have to make a move. Now, considering that it was an open secret around the league that Boston was looking to get off of Jaylen Brown and move on from him and go into a different direction, kind of hurt the negotiating power for the Boston Celtics. You're not operating from a position of strength when we know, hey, you have to give up something. And if I know you have to give up something, I am a little less reluctant to properly compensate you for that. It's almost to the point, in keeping it in simpler terms for those who don't follow sports like that. Hey, if I know that you're hungry and I know you're looking for a meal and I'm going to offer you a meal, and it may not be what you want, but you're hungry, eventually you're going to accept it. You may want steak and lobster, but you may have to settle for this McDonald's value meal. And that's what kind of happened with the Boston Celtics in regards to the Jaylen Brown deal. I don't agree with trading Jaylen Brown. If I'm going to get off of one of the superstar players that they did have, I'm more likely to get off of Jason Tatum. And this is not a knock on Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum is a hell of a basketball player, one of the best players in the league when healthy. But you got a guy who's coming off of an ACL injury. Now, he did return back towards the end of the season. Looked okay. I don't know if he's going to be able to return back to the same form that he had pre-injury. But if I'm Boston, and I'm saying, hey, especially with the season that Jaylen Brown just had. Jaylen Brown was in the MVP conversation throughout the course of the year. Boston, who was not expected to play at the level that they played at without Jason Tatum, goes on to win 56 games last year, in large part due to the play of Jaylen Brown. Now, I'm getting off of Jason Tatum instead of Jaylen Brown. Tatum is coming off of an injury. It is still a high enough market for him to get back comparable pieces. I think Boston would have came out better in getting a return on their dollar, a return on the value of a player of Jason Tatum's ilk. If you would have moved him, I think you would have got a lot more back in that trade if you'd moved off of him. And listen, you couldn't have been upset if they'd have got rid of Jason Tatum. He, like I said, a guy who's coming off of an injury, coming off of an ACL injury, ended up getting hurt in the playoffs. We don't know if he's going to be returned back to the same player that he was before. When was the last time you had a champion MVP and lead his team to the playoffs get traded? Mark, it is very, very rare. It is very, very rare, especially in the NBA when it's about it's a superstar league. It is a superstar league. Very rare to you see guys who's had very recent success. I mean, we're acting like Jaylen Brown was a Finals MVP back in 2019, 2020. They just won a championship in 2024. They just won a championship in 2024, and he was the Finals MVP. And anybody that watched that playoff run by the Boston Celtics to the championship can tell you Jaylen Brown deserved to be the Finals MVP. Jaylen Brown was the best player on the court. Boston going to regret it. And I agree with you on that, Mark. But as I said, if I'm going to get rid of one of my high Supermax players, what's going on 58? If I'm going to get rid of my Supermax players, I'm getting off of Jason Tatum. Like I said, he's coming off of an injury. And for me, that kind of decreases his value a little bit because it's no telling will he ever return back to the form that he had pre-injury. Now, he looked pretty good when he came back off of an injury, but it obviously wasn't the same player. Now, it typically takes an NBA player an entire season or maybe even two to return back off an ACL tear and return back to being the player that they were close to before the injury. Like I said, I would have got off Jason Tatum. Now, the fact that you traded him to Philadelphia, this lets me further know that you was going to do anything that you could. You was going to accept any deal that you could to get off of a Jaylen Brown. And like I said, this was an open secret around the NBA. Everybody in the NBA knew that Jaylen Brown was going to get traded this offseason. It was talk of him getting traded, being included in a Giannis deal with the Bucks. They was getting off of Jaylen Brown, and they knew, you knew he was not going to get a return on your value because, like I said, it was an open secret. Why would I be willing to give up the five first round picks for a guy that I know that you're trying to get rid of? The better you get in all the physical sports, you get worse, especially coming off injury. Mark, I agree. I mean, you look at how long it took for Kevin Durant, who had an ACL injury, to return back to form. It took him about 2 seasons. And his game, thankfully, is not predicated on his physical prowess. This 7-foot monster that can shoot like he does. It's not about how high he can jump. And Jason Tatum's game is kind of similar to Kevin Durant's, is where it's not all this physically overpowering the opponent. But like I said, Jason Tatum, I think he would have got. If I'm Boston, I got to think about the long term health of my organization. Now you take back Paul George. Like I said, some picks. Not a fair return. Paul George has not been the same player. Listen, Paul George is not, to me, and this is me. What's going on, Spot? Paul George, to me, has not been the same player since he left OKC after playing with Westbrook. He's been an okay player, but with the injury history that Paul George had, Paul George missed 40 games just last year. So you're trading a guy who was in the MVP conversation. Yeah, I agree with you on that, Mark. You're trading a guy who was in the MVP conversation just last year. We're talking about Jaylen Brown, and you think you're getting, you're trying to sell it to Boston Celtics fans that you got the best deal that you could. I don't really think so. I think you could have got a lot better deal if you're about getting off of them, you're about trading them and trying to get return value. Listen, there's plenty of other teams that would have took a Jaylen Brown, would have gave you about at least 3 first round picks and some pick swaps to get a Jaylen Brown in house. But the fact that you gave him to Philly further lets me know you was going to do anything that you could and was going to take any deal that you could to get off of it. It wasn't about trying to get return value. Paul George is not a comparable player. JB gonna light Jason up. Listen, Mark, I hear you. You're not going to get a return with Paul George. Paul George, yes, does he fit into the lineup? Yes, but it puts a lot more pressure on Jason Tatum because now Boston's going into this season, and all eyes are going to be on Jason Tatum. They're going to be expecting you to win the same amount of games that Boston won last year, if not more. They're going to expect you to play at the same level that Jaylen Brown, because listen, this is what they just saw last season. So our guy played at MVP level. Jason Tatum can't go out there. This team cannot come in as a 5-6 seed. Because it's going to look even more like it was. So it's going to look like you got off of the wrong guy. Now, on the flip side of this, I love the move by Philadelphia. You get off of Paul George, a guy, like I said, a guy with the injury history that he has. Get off of his horrible contract, and you bring a guy in who fits in a lot better and is a lot more consistent than Paul George. You add him to that lineup there in Philadelphia. You have Maxey, you have Edgecombe in the backcourt. You have a Jaylen Brown. You have Embiid. Hopefully Embiid stays healthy. Philadelphia is definitely got to be in the running in conversation for best team in the Eastern Conference when it's all said and done. And I think Jaylen Brown is going to go to Philadelphia with a chip on the shoulder to prove that Boston made the wrong move. Like I don't understand why, if you're Boston, why would you want to strengthen one of the teams that's going to be pushing you for a spot in the NBA Finals? I just don't get it. Like I said, I love the move by Philadelphia. Like I said, you get off of Paul George. Yeah, first round picks are given up, but it's not like you can't recoup those picks. Now it's going to be interesting to see how Jaylen Brown kind of fits into the dynamic. I think he's going to have to kind of take a step back. I expect Jaylen Brown to come in. For those who follow Philadelphia, I expect Jaylen Brown to kind of come in and kind of take over the Jimmy Butler role. I think Jaylen Brown is going to be one of those guys on this team is going to be looked at as a closer in close games. I think he's going to definitely take a dip in scoring because I don't want to hold back what you have with Tyrese Maxey. I don't want to hold back the development of a VJ Edgecombe for the sake of bringing Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown is going to come in and fit in very nicely. His role is going to be changed a little bit. And I think you're going to see a more productive, for me, more productive Jaylen Brown. I think you're going to see a more productive Jaylen Brown. Whereas the burden of having to carry the scoring load for your team is not going to be on him. Like you say, you have an all-star in Maxey, you have an all-star in B, you have a budding all-star in VJ Edgecombe who had a fantastic rookie season. And Jaylen Brown, listen, Jaylen Brown can come in, give you 22, 23 a game, 5-6 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists. You're going to be happy. You're going to be happy with you got Philadelphia, and that's just one of the the biggest moves that Philadelphia made. But it's another move that Philadelphia made that I like also. You bring in Anthony Simons, played with Boston last year, but spent a large part of his early career, playing for Portland Trailblazers. You bring him in for scoring off of the bench. I like the move. I like the direction that Philadelphia is going in. Philadelphia. Without going all in or going all in. Like I said, you bring in the Jaylen Brown, you're going to be expected to be competing for best record in the Eastern Conference. You're going to be expected to be competing for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And if you look at it on paper, and you always have to kind of look at it on paper when the games are not being played. If you look at it on paper, this sets up Philadelphia very nicely if they were to match up against, say, the New York Knicks in the playoffs. You have a guy, bring in Jaylen Brown, a guy who has had playoff success at the highest level, has a championship ring, has a finals MVP under his record. You bring him in, it closes the gap between New York and Philadelphia. You recall this past postseason, Philadelphia got smoked off the court by New York, but you add a guy like Jaylen Brown, who is a very significant upgrade over what you had with Paul George. You bring in the Jaylen Brown, maybe that series turns out a little bit different, and maybe we'll see that matchup again as we get closer to the season getting started and the playoffs get started. That's going to be a very intriguing matchup, and like I said, on paper, it matches up very well with the New York Knicks, and the Knicks, they're the champs, and it is what it is. You have to kind of judge it off of that. You have to kind of judge off that. This is a copycat league. You look at what team has had success, and you try to replicate that for your own team. And I like what the move. I like the moves that Philadelphia has made so far. I think there is also that lingering question. You have the backcourt sold up. You have your 3 spots sold up. Could Philadelphia, and it's been talked about by Agent Rich Paul, could Philadelphia really be in the running to bring in LeBron James? LeBron James, who's left the Lakers, told them he wanted to go play elsewhere. Has not made a free agent decision. LeBron is an interesting piece. If you add LeBron James to Philadelphia, on paper it looks awesome, but stylistically, I don't know. And here's why I say that. Well, I think LeBron can help any team win, but you got to change how you play the game. LeBron is not going to be is not a guy that runs the floor up and down like he used to in his, let's say, his Miami days. Now, can LeBron get out on the fast break? Sure, but LeBron likes to play a more slow, methodical game, slow the pace down of the game, and I think that would be detrimental to what Philadelphia potentially has out there. You're talking about Tyrese Maxey, one of the fastest guards in the league. You're talking about a VJ Edgecombe, an attacking two guard. Then you talk about a Jaylen Brown, a guy who's known to attack the basket also. Do you really want to bring in LeBron James and slow the pace down when you have the makings of a team that can get up and down the floor with the best of them? I don't know. I don't know. And LeBron is kind of looking at it like, pre Jaylen Brown being traded to Philadelphia might have been a better fit. But when you have those three horses out there for Philadelphia, if I'm LeBron, do I really fit in here? Do I really fit in here? Your usage is definitely going to go down if you go to Philadelphia. But it's always a possibility. And like I said, LeBron has not made his decision yet. I'm curious to see where it lands. To me, I think Miami is the best fit. If you're talking about trying to win a championship, I think Miami is the best fit. Cleveland is definitely in the conversation. Philadelphia, I think, to me, is a stretch. Philadelphia, to me, is a stretch. Like I said, if they were able to pull it off, get him in, get him signed on paper, people would be picking Philadelphia to win the championship. But I think Philadelphia has enough now. When you bring in a Jaylen Brown to definitely compete for a championship, do you really need a LeBron James? Do you really need that extra to get that push? And like I said, you bring in LeBron James, you have to kind of adapt the way you play basketball to take care, to take advantage of LeBron's basketball acumen and his gifts. You got to kind of change the way you play. So for me, like I said, Philadelphia, love the move by Jaylen Brown. Curious to see what they're going to do next. I love the addition of Anthony Simons to that roster. And I think Philadelphia is definitely going to be in the conversation for me for best team in the Eastern Conference on paper. On paper, of course, the season starts. I want to say around Halloween. They have summer league going right now. I'm not too concerned about that. Not too concerned about that. Now, speaking of moves, the Los Angeles Lakers, after moving off of LeBron James, after letting Marcus Smart go, letting Rui Hachimura go, have rolled out a very unique kind of lineup. I'm not going to get too heavy into the fact that you got a lot of white players on the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not too concerned about that. Austin Reeves could play, Luka Doncic could play, Walker Kessler. In the time that I have seen him play for Utah, is okay. But that's what Luka wanted. Luka wanted to go out there and get a big. They had talks with Jalen Duren. I don't think that deal was ever going to materialize. Detroit is not moving off of Jalen Duren. They just wanted him to go out there and see what his market is and kind of match that contract. So, I think Jalen Duren would have been a better fit for LA. But Walker Kessler is a nice consolation prize. You bring in Quentin Grimes. I like some of the moves for LA. I got to wait till they fill out the kind of rest of the roster, but very interesting. I think you overpaid for Walker Kessler. I don't think the market was that strong for Walker Kessler. I don't think he was that competitive of a free agent, especially being a restricted free agent. I don't think teams were out there lining up to back up the Brinks truck to bring in Walker Kessler. Like I said, he kind of fits the mold of centers who have had success playing with Luka Doncic. But I think he could have did a little bit better. But hey, we'll see. You have to kind of see what it looks like out on the court. Health is definitely going to be one of the major concerns for the Los Angeles Lakers, considering that, Luka got hurt down the stretch. Austin Reeves got hurt down the stretch. We're going to see what this team looks like fully healthy. Do I like the additions? Yeah, I think you've added some more firepower. Like I said, we're bringing in a guy like Quentin Grimes, a guy who could easily go out there and give you 20 a game if needed. I like the moves by LA. I just have to kind of wait and see. I don't know if Walker Kessler is the answer. I mean, you did have Aiton, you re-signed him, but then you moved him to Washington for peanuts. I'm not sold, man. I'm not sold, and it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Luka Doncic this year because the specter of having LeBron James in house, having the specter of LeBron James on your team, um, is gone. Now, some people may look at that as a bad thing. Some people may look at that as a good thing that LeBron is out of there. I've heard a lot of Laker fans happy that LeBron is gone. Was never too much in love with LeBron in his tenure there with LA. I respect what he did in LA. He brought a championship there. You call it what you want to call it with the bubble. But he brought a championship there nonetheless. Brought a championship there nonetheless. But I'm curious to see what it looks like. Luca and Austin Reeves, offensively, very, very, very gifted. Probably one of the best scoring duos in the league. Hey, beautiful, how you doing? One of the best scoring duos in the league, but defensively, liabilities, man. And Walker Kessler does have some, defensive talent, but is he really the rim protector that you need to play with guys like a Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves? I'm curious to see how this looks. Like I said, a lot of pressure is going to be on Luka Doncic. It's now your franchise. Um, LeBron can no longer be blamed or pointed to for any deficiencies in the team. This is your team. This is your franchise. What are you going to do with it? We saw what you did in your first generation with the Dallas Mavericks when you were, the top dog and face of the franchise. You had some success. You made it to NBA Finals. I think the expectations are going to be a lot higher in LA because it is LA. That is the expectation for every superstar player who wants to be the face of the franchise of the Los Angeles Lakers. You're expected to bring a ring, at minimum, a ring. Does LA have enough to compete in the Western Conference and make it to an NBA final? No. I think you're still going to have to make some moves um, during this off season. Probably make some moves throughout the course of the season to get a little bit better. I don't see it. I don't think you've surpassed. I don't think you've surpassed San Antonio. I don't think you've surpassed Denver. I don't think you've surpassed OKC. I think you look a little different, but I don't think you're getting past those three teams. And granted, everybody else in the Western Conference, all the contenders got a little bit better. I like the addition of Marcus Smart in Houston. I think a back point guard rotation with him and Van Fleet solidifies that position, makes Houston an even more dangerous team come postseason. I think Portland got a little bit better. Now, I don't know if Ja Morant makes it through the entire season with Portland. I think he may be moved before the season ends. He is a very interesting trade piece if you're going to move off of Ja Morant. I think you can get a little bit more in your return than the Memphis got when they traded him to Portland. But Los Angeles, I like the moves, but it doesn't put you any closer to those teams ahead of you. It doesn't put you any closer to those teams ahead of you. Those teams got better. Those teams are younger, still more athletic than you, still better defensively than you, still better, more sound offensively than you. You know, I don't know. I think you should have over. Honestly, I would have offered Jaylen Duren when I had the opportunity. I would have offered him, the max deal that I could, and dared Detroit to match it because Detroit really doesn't want to pay Jaylen Duren max money. I would have offered him the max contract I possibly could, and dared them to match it. Walker Kessler is a nice consolation prize, but for 30 mil a year, no, no, based on the sample size of what I've seen from Walker Kessler throughout his career, he's serviceable big man, but doesn't move the needle. Doesn't move the needle, and you need a big man to compete in a Western Conference when you have a Wemby. Have you heard about the homeless woman that went to the hospital? They come out and found out where the house was. Say that for tomorrow, beautiful. Say that and remind me tomorrow. I'll look into that. Let me put that on my to-do list. Say that for the other. I'll look into that. That's interesting. I got some stuff lined up for that show also, kind of like news of the day. But yeah, remind me. But I'll make a note of it. But remind me. I do. I find that interesting. Harvesting body parts. That's a okay. Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. I like that. I'm always open to suggestions and topics and stuff. So yeah, this woman's get body part harvested. That is a deep. When you talk about, and I don't want to get too distracted, but hell, this is my show, so it's whatever. But you talking about harvesting body parts, a lot of that has to do with the amount of human trafficking, which is, contrary to what some people may believe. People think drugs is the biggest illegal business in the world. No, human trafficking is. But we'll kind of talk about that at another time. But thanks for that, though, beautiful. Thanks for that. Um, yeah, looking at the rest, like I said, looking at the rest of the NBA, Rui Hachimura uh, took a deal signed with the Los Angeles Clippers to stay in LA. It's very obvious to me. Rui just loves to be in LA. He's grown comfortable being in LA because when you look at what the Clippers have now, after trading away Kawhi Leonard to Toronto, you're not going to the Clippers. You're not going across the street. Or as Lakers fans like to say, you're not going down to the basement to play for the Clippers and think you're going to have playoff success. Um, I think Rui kind of shortchanged himself. I think it was a better market for him. But at the end of the day, you as a player, you make that decision on what you do for you and your family, and good luck to that young man. But you ain't going nowhere playing for the Clippers, bro. And as much as they stripped down that roster over the past couple of seasons, you're not going nowhere. I mean, you got a deal. I think Rui Hachimura would have been a nice fit on a championship level team. I think San Antonio would have been a good fit for Rui to kind of come in and be a difference maker. But he chose the Clippers. I don't know how much I would have got. I would have did that, but LA is LA. Those who've been know what I'm talking about. But right now it's the free agency is the first week is done. All the major moves have kind of been made. Now guys are kind of settling in. This is when you kind of get to the second tier level of free agency where the major moves are done. The major moves are done. Giannis being traded, Kawhi being traded. The major moves have been done. LaMelo Ball going to Minnesota. The major moves have been done. This is where GMs kind of earn their money. But a lot of the top guys are gone after the first week. What pieces can you bring in to supplement and build up your roster before the season starts? Still the biggest piece out there is LeBron James. Does he go to Golden State? I don't know if I would do that. Does he go to Cleveland? Does he go to Miami? Or does he go somewhere else that we're just not looking at and not really considering? I think if I'm Rich Paul, I'm looking at LeBron James. Where can I go to really seriously contribute? Where can I really go and seriously contribute to a team that's trying to win a championship? And at the end of the day, I think for LeBron, that's got to be the primary concern. It's not about who can give you the biggest contract. It's not about money. Um, who puts you in the best position to win, and you're not just coming in to ride the coattails. So you go sit on this porch. I mean that is always an option. Beautiful. I mean, if LeBron, next week comes out says, I want to officially announce my retirement from the NBA. I don't think anybody will be mad. I don't think. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's played 23 plus seasons, 23 seasons. Um, has done done everything under the moon. It's got the MVPs, it's got the records, it's got the championships. Where he falls in the GOAT conversation, it is irrelevant. He's still top. How old is he? I think LeBron is 41. Be 41. I think he'd be 41. Or if he's not already 41, he'd be 41, 42 upcoming season if he plays. Um, but he's done it all. And if he decides, looking at the landscape, I don't see a place I can come in and contribute and honestly compete for a championship. I don't want to be looked at as a role player. Based on this level of play just last season, I think he's be a fine piece to have to a team that's trying to push for a championship. But if LeBron says he wants to walk away, um, more power to him, man. I mean, he's done it all. And whatever you think about LeBron's place on Mount Rushmore, it's not going to change if he play another season or not. If LeBron walks away now, all-time scoring leader as far as points are concerned, his spot is solidified. I mean, I think right now he's more playing for the love of the game if he plays, playing for the love of the game and playing for for the enjoyment and competing for a championship. I think that's his only motivations. It's not about money. Um, so I'm curious to see where he lands. So LeBron is still like the last big chip that's kind of still out there. That could possibly change the landscape of the NBA. This is a second week of free agency. Where teams and GMs got to get together, bring in those guys on those, 2-year deals or smaller deals that don't really make the news. We'll see. We'll see. Kudos, like I said, if LeBron walks away, had a hell of a career, man. Have a hell of a career. Now, typically when I get into sports, then I kind of transition to the politics. But we got a story here where sports and politics kind of intermingled this week. For those who have not been watching the World Cup is still currently going. Team USA player who was red flag, had his red flag temporarily rescinded. Caught a red flag in the last game. Was not going to be eligible to play in tonight's game against Belgium. Was originally not supposed to play against Belgium. But after a phone call, and it was reported by the media, that Trump made 3 phone calls to FIFA president to get the red card temporarily suspended. So the player, and I want to make sure I got the right name. I don't want to. I don't want to get it wrong. Faloran Balogun. One of the best scorers on Team USA throughout the course of this World Cup. Received the red card in the last game, was not supposed to play in tonight's game against Belgium. Well, Trump made a couple of phone calls. Now, if you've been kind of following Trump relationship with FIFA since coming back into the White House, it has been very, very, very overly friendly, borderline corrupt. You had FIFA president kind of cobbled together some, FIFA Peace Prize award to soothe Donald Trump's ego for not being nominated and winning the Nobel Peace Prize. They gave him some fake peace award. Granted, the United States is the host country, and you always want to make sure that the host country, is taken care of. But in a situation like this, where the president of the host country, and I wouldn't care if it was the president of France or whoever was hosting the World Cup, for you to directly get involved and to advocate with FIFA president, FIFA officials to, rescind and temporarily suspend a red card. And for those who don't know what red card means, you kind of like ejected, you're packed up. Yellow card is the warning. Red card is like, yeah, you're out of here, and you're going to be missing the next game. It's considered a serious offense if you get a red card. But for him to advocate, and trust me, Trump makes no qualms about it. Trump is not shy about saying that, hey, he reached out to get the red card rescinded. Well, it's even more funny. What's even more funny about it that Trump he doesn't follow soccer like that. So they had to explain to him what a red card was. And once they explained to him what a red card was, then he makes the phone call. To FIFA president, primarily, but other FIFA officials, to get it. Now, I'm all about sports and let it be what it's going to be. I don't think politics should play a role in sports. I don't think politics should be anywhere near sports. But what we have seen from Trump since he's gotten back into office is his his need to be one to be heavily involved in anything dealing with sports, um, anything that could bring attention to him. You're talking about him going to watch Game Three of the NBA Finals. You're talking about his appearance at the Super Bowl. This need to want to be involved, to want to say I played a role in something, and the need to soothe this dude's ego is crazy. And the fact that now, if you go back and look at the actual penalty, do I think it was a little excessive? Yes. I mean, but it is what it is. I mean, you kind of live with it. The player, had Balogun had a very nice response to it. Kindly left the field, left the pitch. Um, didn't cry about it in the media, and this it's kind of part of what the game is. Like Trump, like how much is your need for attention? Um, yeah, like it is beyond me. Um, and FIFA, is got to be, you got to be looking at FIFA officials. And for those of you who don't know the history of FIFA, and when we're talking about under the table stuff, corruption stuff, it is a Netflix special. It's a special documentary on Netflix in regards to the history of FIFA. If you're interested in that, go on Netflix and search it up. It gives you a very detailed breakdown of the amount of corruption that has been in FIFA for a very, very long time. And this is another example. Um, the rest of the world, I think it leaves to me, and with U.S. being eliminated tonight, it kind of takes away Trump getting involved, takes away from the success that this team, men's team, had throughout this World Cup. I think it takes away a bit of the shine. Here you have a team that has made it as far as they did. Um, made it to the round of 16. Was playing fantastic football. U.S. looked like they belonged in the conversation. Looked like they belonged there. It wasn't looking like home cooked treatment. And then you have Trump come in days before the men's team is supposed to play against Belgium, and does this, man. It, you've taken something that is supposed to be, sports is supposed to be purely on the field, but too often politics, gets involved, and it muddies the waters, messes it up. It takes away from the hard work that those athletes put in, the amount of time and training and preparation they put into it. And then you have Trump becomes the headline, takes away from, the match they had tonight. And they got smoked in soccer terms. They got smoked 4-1. Belgium was clearly the better team, but I think you take away from like the success of them getting this far in the tournament. They played a fantastic tournament, um, and this kind of to me messes it up. It's you know it putting you're messing up the makeup. It's like going out with a chick, and here comes Trump, smearing makeup, thinking he's making something look beautiful, and you really kind of taking away from it. Um, I expect it to be, once the tournament is over and, the world goes back to, the world things, and the U.S. kind of takes their attention away from soccer and FIFA and the World Cup. I expect, there to be some kind of, talk, in regards to internal investigations and why they temporarily suspended the red card for the American player. But Trump, this is what he does. He gets involved, he messes things up, he makes it all about himself. And like I said, the biggest thing that you're going to take away from this, if you're not a diehard soccer fan, is the fact that Trump got involved, gave Team USA the hookup, which didn't help them tonight. They got smoked and they're out of the tournament. But that's going to be the biggest takeaway from it. As far as Team USA, it's not going to be about the success that team had. It's going to be the fact that Trump tried to give them the hookup, got the hookup, and it didn't amount to nothing. Feel bad for those players, but this is the world we live in, man. This is the world we live in. This is the where we stay at and all that good stuff. Um, like I said, a bad to me a bad look. Um, yeah, I think you should just let bygones be bygones. Listen, what happens on the field of play happens on the field of play. Now, before we kind of transition out of sports, and I want to really kind of get into politics before we kind of close out tonight's show. Thank y'all for taking time out to listen a little on me as always. Let me come back over here. I want to kind of double back to the Jaylen Brown um, conversation. A lot of talk has been made by Jaylen Brown. Like one of the reasons why Boston got rid of him because he was kind of too opinionated. Um, you know, too. I don't want to say educated because I think that's a slap in the face to a lot of players in the NBA. I think a lot of these brothers are highly intelligent and make very informed decisions. But a lot of times when you speak out and you not necessarily on some social justices, but you show people that hey, I'm not just some dumb jock. Some people get frightened. I did find a very interesting. It's ironic that I was doing my research for the show, and I found a very interesting clip from Jaylen Brown. And for those who don't know about Jaylen Brown has a decree from Cal Berkeley, so he's not a complete dumbass. He's not just they love to have the black athlete just shut up and dribble. And when they show that they're more than just playing sports, people get a little frightened, get a little intimidated, get a little scared, and they don't want no part of that. I found a very interesting clip in regards to Jaylen Brown. It's got to show you that the kind of thinking that this young man has, and I wanted to kind of, and I may follow up with this clip in regards to something outside of my regular show, but hold on, let me make sure I got the right one. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Give me just a second. Let me kind of pull it up. Hopefully, stream y'all work with a brother. I ain't playing no music tonight. Stream y'all work with me. Work with me. Okay, are we on the screen yet? Nope, not yet. Hold on. Okay, stream y'all. Don't freeze up on, bro. All right. Um, check out this. This is a very short clip. Check this out real quick.
Done with a watchtower in the middle of the prison. And this theory was that, I put it up because they're under surveillance, has shifted to psychological authority. And over time, their behaviors change. And this causes a term she calls dynamic normalization. So in the digital age, the watchtower has transferred through technology, through bots, fake viral clips, fake accounts. You can police platforms and algorithmically influence society with the technology that you can control. The technology that you can control can dictate the market.
Like I said, short clip, man. Short clip. Yeah, very, very highly intelligent brother. And I may follow up on what he was talking about in that clip on another show. I may follow up with that on another show. Let me come back over here to StreamYard. StreamYard, are you still rocking with me? Are you still behaving, StreamYard? Okay, I still see my mouth moving. So, all right, man. So, want to get in, heavy into politics. I do. Where do I want to start? Where do I want to start? Where do I want to start? Found some interesting clips this week. Now, I want to start off with the first clip. Um, if you've been kind of following this Trump administration, it's been very heavy-handed. It's about controlling one of the things that they've really pushed for, more so than any other administration before them, is this need to control the narrative, this need to control the way that they're viewed, the way by, by the world, but by American citizens. And I don't want to beat you guys across the head with Project 2025. You know, I've talked about that in the past on several occasions, but it was a clip that I found that from former gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, where she kind of really kind of breaks it down into kind of detail, and you kind of I want to this is play the clip, but I want you guys to pay attention to what she's saying in the clip, because if you think about it, um, how she's kind of laying out this step by step program to where you know Trump and his administration are really wanting to move to more an authoritarian style of government. She really kind of breaks it down in detail, and kind of lays it out. And I want you to kind of kind of open your ears, and listen to what she's got to say in regards to that. I think it's a very, very, very interesting breakdown of this Trump administration so far. And like once we get done with the clip, we'll continue with the rest of the show. Um, but I think it's a dope clip. Um, for those who are not heavy into politics, this kind of makes it kind of easier to kind of digest what you're seeing on a day-to-day basis in regards to this administration. That's just, are we good, StreamYard? Are we good? Okay, come on, StreamYard. Do not freeze. Okay, cool. You're playing nice today. Okay, check this out real quick.
Now, 10 steps to autocracy. Run us through those steps so we all know.
Okay, so this happens in every nation that has become an autocracy, having been a democracy. So whether we're talking about Brazil with Bolsonaro, or India, or Putin and Russia, the Philippines with Duterte. So start with winning an election.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the last one you're going to get to have for real. Number two, you have an expansion of executive power. The president decides he wants more than he's supposed to have. And implicit, so you weaken them and you neutralize or neuter the judiciary. Like, the Supreme Court is giving you unfettered power and saying we don't have the ability to stop things. Then you move on to firing all the people who know how to make government work. Mm-hmm. So you gut the civil service. And you do that because you want to break democracy so people forget the stuff that used to get done. So you can't get your Social Security check. So the CDC doesn't know what diseases are anymore. Mm-hmm. Then you put in place these loyalists, people who are only responsive to you. You put them in charge of the FBI so they go after your enemies. You put them in charge of the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, so they can signal to their friends and tell them all about the evil plans that you have. Then you make certain that you break how we communicate. So you criticize the media and you create your own echo chamber of propaganda. You call it truth, even though you know you're lying. Then you go to the next step, and I call that step 7. So at step 7, you have to blame someone. You have to blame people for the broken government, for the broken promises. So you go after DEI. You go after the vulnerable, the dispossessed. You go after any community that doesn't look like what you think power should be. While you're doing that, you make certain that in step 8, you eliminate anybody who can help them. So you sue law firms that do pro bono cases. You go after philanthropies and accuse them of giving money to the wrong people. You go after colleges and universities that can teach people possibly what else they should know. You get to step 9 and you start to encourage and incentivize private violence. You send the U.S. Marines into spaces they should not be. You send the National Guard in. You kidnap people off of the streets and pretend that's normal, because that's how you quiet dissent, because you make everyone afraid that if they don't do what you want, they might be next. And once you've done those 9 steps, step 10 is easy. That's when you decide there won't be new elections, because everyone's either afraid, poor, broken, or complicit.
Okay. Wow. Well, while you have the ear of the people right now and on their television sets, what is it that they can do to help avoid this and make a change in this?
Thank you. So I want to give credit to Kim Sheppel, who is a professor at Princeton. She came up with a framework. I've adapted it and potentially editorialized it more than she did. Mm-hmm. But I also want to give credit to the Robert F. Kennedy Foundation, not the lesser successor, but the real guy. We can fight back. We can remember that we do have power. They don't want dissent, so protest. They want us to forget that before we had power, we had each other. So when they break democracy, when they break the Social Security system, when they slash SNAP benefits and Medicaid, make sure you're checking on your neighbors. Make sure we're using mutual aid, but also tell the truth. Do not let the propaganda win. Too often they tell a lie. They will tell a lie so often it sounds like the truth. We say the truth one time, and when people don't applaud, we stop talking. We've got to keep telling the truth, not only to push back against them, but to remind us that we are entitled to the truth. We have to believe that freedom of assembly means it's more than just going to protest. It's the ability to be friends with people who aren't like you. And we have to stop believing that we are in this alone. The most effective thing they do is isolate us. They convince us that you and I don't have any common cause, and we certainly don't have common cause with someone who has a different history than we do. When we hold to our truth, when we actually believe in ourselves and our people, when we believe in democracy as something that must deliver, that's when we start to fight back. And that's when they lose, because they win when we are too numb or too afraid to act.
All right.
All right. Hold on. Let me come over here. Let me take this down. All right. All right. All right. Come on, StreamYard. Are you still with me? I made it. Okay. Oh, for those of you who watch me, man, listen, StreamYard has been a journey over the last couple of months. But yeah, Stacey Abrams breaks it down very beautifully here. And a lot of this is the founding of Project 2025. It's in the playbook. They've already started trying to make preparations in regards to midterms. Listen, Trump has his way. It won't be any midterms. He's going to have people believing that, the election system is so broken down, the election system is so corrupt that, maybe we should just skip midterms, keep what we have in power, keep control of the House, keep control of the Senate, keep stuff the way that he wants it to be, to where he's running the plays and running the show. She lays it out very beautifully. You look at some of the, we're talking about breaking lines of communication. You look at the deal, the CBS deal, and how Trump and his administration, his FCC, have gone after the ABCs of the world. Anybody that has kind of expressed any kind of altering voice or this dissident opinion in regards to his administration, they've gone after them. They've gone after them to try to get them out of the way, or they've co-opted them. I.e., look at Larry Ellison deal with CBS. How much CBS is kind of changed. They're kind of talking about where they're almost like Fox News Light. It is all a playbook, and the underlying thing. This is I don't want people to kind of lose sight of this. It's all a playbook. I mean, but if you're paying attention, and this is the thing I try to get people, when I do the politics portion. So this is kind of pay attention to what's going on around you, not just on a national level, but also what's going on around you on a local level, on a state level, on a county level. Watch the moves that are being made. We're so focused on Trump, the administration, and his grift, and his hustle. It is a lot of shady stuff going on state levels and local levels that people are just not aware of. People just don't talk about, and they're running the playbook. Stay informed, man. Stay informed. Listen, I get it. Being all into politics can be head spinning. Being all into politics can be like, what the hell? It's always something new, but you got to pay attention to stuff around you. Matter of fact, I got a very interesting, I'm a little clip heavy tonight. I had no clips last week, but I got a very interesting clip showing the Louisiana governor. This is some of the stuff that they're kind of doing that's not necessarily making the national news, because you're so, have become so conditioned to Trump that, I think this is, hold on, let me make sure I got the right clip. Yeah. But we become so conditioned where we're so focused on Trump and the stuff that he's doing, and the grift and all of that kind of stuff that his financial disclosures has come out. Look at the amount of money that he made for him and his family just over the past year. Like I said, his 2025 disclosures came out. Don't get so caught up in Trump that you're not paying attention to what else is going around you on a, I wouldn't say on a smaller scale, but this more is still impactful. But here is I got a short clip here. This is Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry. This is the kind of stuff that they're doing. Like, pay attention to what Stacey Abrams was saying. This is the kind of stuff that's happening even on a state level. Don't get focused on the national level. This is some of the stuff that's happening on the state level. Let me see if I'm good to go. StreamYard, are you working with a brother? Okay. All right. Okay. You didn't. Let me get my screen off. Thank you, StreamYard. Let me share my screen. Hold on. Okay. Let me see if it's working now. Okay. Give me a sec, y'all. All right. All right. Yeah, check this this interview 60 Minutes. Check this out.
Are we really trying to drug up the past only to continue a failed narrative?
What's the failed narrative?
What a failed narrative is that actually that people in Louisiana are racist. I watch nothing but hug-a-thug policies in this state. We should put them away for life. I'm done with them. It doesn't matter how old they are. It's not the government's job to raise these people. We got 18,000 acres that ain't golden. If it's up to me, I'd send them all there for the rest of their lives. And that basically we won't elect black people. I mean, I disagree with that.
The governor has signed into law the bill that abolishes the criminal clerk of court position in New Orleans, thus stripping Calvin Duncan of the seat that he won in the fall election.
No black candidate in Louisiana has been elected to a statewide office such as governor or attorney general since Reconstruction.
And yet we're still trying to find some sliver of discrimination in race.
I think a lot of people would say you don't have to try to find it, it's there.
I would say that you find that it would reside in people's hearts, not in their laws.
And now, just days before he's supposed to take office, you're going to change the law and prevent him from taking office? In what world is that right? We all know this is wrong. This is just wrong, and it needs to be stopped.
It's targeted. How many governors, how many attorney general come into a parish race and get involved? That's unheard of.
There's a cruel aspect to this, that this man ran for office, he campaigned, he spent his money, he got thousands of votes, and now just days before he's supposed to take office, you're going to change the law and prevent him from taking office?
And yet we're still trying to find some sliver of discrimination in race.
I think a lot of people would say you don't have to try to find it, it's there.
I would say that you find that in people's hearts.
All right, let me come back over here. All right. Take that down. Yeah, okay. Work with me, StreamYard. Okay. Am I back? Hey, twin, how you doing? Okay. All right, am I back? Okay, StreamYard. Look at there. Hey, twin, how you doing? Yeah, but like I said, that's just one of the many examples that you can go around the country and find examples of this playbook being played out. Don't get too caught up looking up to the national level. Look what's going on state levels. Look what's going on in your local levels. It is a playbook, man. It is a playbook. It's all about, people that get into power want to stay in the power. And this administration has reinforced that notion, has reinforced that theory on a very, very serious level. Pay attention, man. That's all. The only advice I can really give you. Pay attention. Become informed. Seek out multiple sources of information. And stay ready. Stay ready. You got to get ready. I do got a couple more things to kind of get out. This is they never stop doing this. They never stop. Now, I got another interesting clip here. If you've been paying attention to, I guess, national politics, New York Mayor Mondami has become the face of opposition for the Republican Party. It's not just on a national level. He's being targeted on being used in advertisements in regards to state level and local level elections. with the midterm, like I said, midterms are coming up. They've been using Mandami, and you're starting to hear socialism and communism is code words for those are evil people, and this by playing on the intelligence of people. But another tactic that has been used, and I don't think a lot of people will pay attention to it. A lot of tactics, another tactic that has been used, is putting a black face on some of these talking points in regards to in regards to politics. And it's not just, I don't want to just say it's just Democrats. I don't want to say it's just Republicans. I think it's both sides. They love to put a black face, and this is how they talk to the black community. This is how they try to connect with the black community. But it's a lot of coded language involved with that. And they got a very interesting clip here. Let me get it ready. I've got, and this, these are short. I got two more. Y'all. Trust me, I got two more. We gonna get to the show. Like I said, thank y'all for taking the time to listen to little old me tonight. Okay. Okay. Oh, I want to make sure I'm up on the screen before I play this. Okay. Come on.
I hate.
Okay. StreamYard. Okay. Are we good? All right. Okay, cool. It looks like I'm good. Okay. Check this out real quick. And thoughts in the, if you have any thoughts, you feel free to write them down. But check this out real quick.
I hate Juneteenth.
The Democrats did not want to pass the Civil Rights Act.
39 people get shot on Juneteenth.
But then it really made me resent the Democratic Party.
Their message is, we don't want anybody who don't look like you to be making decisions for you.
Let's talk about the Black validator strategy, where they use Black people to validate their policies. Do you really think that they care about what Stephen A. Smith has to say, or Candace Owens, or any of the weirdo Black MAGAs your racist co-workers post every day, who repeat the same 3 talking points? Republicans freed the slaves, get off the Democratic plantation. Donald Trump actually loves Black people. Most Black people are smart enough not to listen to these people's opinions. A Black face defending a conservative argument isn't meant to convince Black people. We're not that stupid. It's to help white voters justify supporting often anti-Black, anti-American policies. Most people don't want to be considered racist, even if they are. So if they can point to a Black face that says they're not being racist, they can feel all that much better about the decisions they make in the voting booth.
Okay, hold on. I'll come back over here. Am I still good? Yeah, I'm still good. Very interesting point of view there. Very interesting point of view. And you're starting to see that some of these, I guess, Black talking heads in social media really focusing in on Mandami, trying to paint him as the face of socialism, communism, and how his stuff is so bad for people, and how dare he put a rent freeze and all of that kind of stuff. Listen, guarantee when we die, they extract our melanin from our pineal gland. yeah, keeper. I'm gonna have to do a whole kind of, I'm gonna have to kind of put together something on that, like the amount of human harvesting, organ harvesting that is done in conjunction with human trafficking. But yeah, very, 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 like I said, but back to this, very, very interesting talking point. Like I said, they love to put a Black face on their talking points, man. They love to put a Black face on their talking points. You put a Black face on the talking point, like I said, it makes them more comfortable, because they don't want to come out and talk about Black on Black crime. They rather have a Stephen A. do it. They don't want to come out and say, we've done this injustice to this community or the immigration community. We rather have a Candace Owens come out and do that. Man, be careful of these folks, man. It's not keeper. Does it sound like you're putting together a presentation? No pressure from me. No pressure from me. No pressure from me. No pressure from me. a couple more things I want to kind of get into, and this is the next clip here I have here kind of shows you when they're put on the spot, when MAGA is kind of put on the spot, and just ask them a basic question. When you put them on the spot, this is the kind of reaction you get. No, your turn. Damn. Keep. I'll be trying. I'll be doing the Lord's work, Keep. Yeah. I'll be doing the Lord's work. But here is, I got another clip here. One more after this, and then we'll kind of get into the pulpit and we'll close out tonight's show. Thank y'all for taking time out to listen to little old me as always. This is a very, hold on, let me make sure we good to go here. Give me a sec.
What was the cause of the Civil War?
Okay, I'll make sure, I got to keep going. Make sure StreamYard is rocking with me. Okay. All right. You good, StreamYard? Thank you for playing nice. Check this out real quick. I mean, like I said, when you ask MAGA a simple question, look at the amount of tap dancing that is used. Just check this out.
What was the cause of the Civil War, the U.S. Civil War in the 1800s?
What was the cause of the Civil War?
What do you think the cause of the Civil War was?
I don't know.
What would you say is the cause of the Civil War?
The Civil War? What caused the Civil War? They mostly, I'm thinking of the first war when we became Americans.
And then we had a Civil War. What do you think caused our Civil War?
Sin, I suppose. If there was something evil, mankind is hard on each other, man. Yeah.
And what do you think, sir, was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Of the Civil War? Well, let's see. The North and South, they couldn't get along. It could happen here too.
Do you think we're near that?
Hear what?
Do you think we're getting toward a Civil War again?
The good Lord only knows, but I think, if he thought it was going to end up this way.
All right, let me come back over here. Hopefully the stream y'all didn't kick a brother out. And see, beautiful. Damn, beautiful. You know what? If it gets Keeper to do a video. But yeah, listen, man. You've heard me. If you listen to this show, no, Keeper. They're not slow. They're not slow. I think a lot of these motherfuckers are stupid. No, you good, beautiful. I'm just messing with you. I know. I say that all the time. These people are stupid. These people are dumb. But let me tell you something. Listen, if I could play it again. I don't want you to watch the body, and more or less not necessarily what they're saying or what they're not saying. Watch the body language. Now, they would have you to believe that the Civil War was this a footnote in history. These people would have you believe that they're confused about what war it is. Like, come on. U.S. history is a subject that is taught in every school. And the Civil War is a period of time of U.S. history that is explicitly, that's what I mean, slow equals stupid. No, listen, keep it. It's not, they're not slow. And it's going to lead me to another point. I want you to pay attention. I'm going to play it again. I want you to pay attention to the gentleman that was in the black clothing, and he talks about sin. And I want you to pay attention to the last guy when he's talking about the good Lord. They love to kind of throw religion up in there, to kind of, I guess, to put a softer light on American history, and sin and then God and all of that kind of stuff. That could be a topic for a whole other show, because that's going to kind of lead me into my next clip before we kind of close out here. Oh, let me But listen, I want you to watch the body language is the major takeaway for me. How uncomfortable they are just saying, reason why it was a civil war was slavery. Was slavery. I mean, you don't have to make any qualms about it. Um, this sense of guilt that is passed down quietly through generations. I would say quietly through generations. Because it doesn't follow their quote unquote Christian values and stuff that they're brought up on American values. When they get to talking about slavery, they get very, very uncomfortable when discussing it. Just answer the simple question, but I'm gonna play it again. Watch the body language of everybody when they're asked the question. They all kind of pause, and instead of just saying what it is, putting the word to it. You don't have to go into details about it, but just putting the word to how uncomfortable they are. And when they get uncomfortable, they play stupid. But check it out again. Just watch the body language of everybody.
What was the cause of the Civil War, the U.S. Civil War in the 1800s?
What was the cause of the Civil War?
What do you think the cause of the Civil War was?
I don't know.
What would you say is the cause of the Civil War?
The Civil War? What caused the Civil War? They mostly, I'm thinking of the first war when we became Americans.
And then we had a Civil War. What do you think caused our Civil War?
Sin, I suppose. There was something evil. Mankind is hard on each other, man. Yeah.
And what do you think, sir, was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Of the Civil War? Well, let's see. The North and South, they couldn't get along. It could happen here too.
Do you think we're near that?
Hear what?
Do you think we're getting toward a Civil War again?
The good Lord only knows, but I think, if he thought it was going to end up this way.
All right, go back over here. I said this is the body language, man. Body language says a lot. Like I said, I find clips like that very, very interesting from time to time. Okay, yeah, you see it now. Intentional stupidity, keeper. Intentional stupidity. Well, I just play dumb. I'd rather look dumb than look like a racist. And it's not necessarily being a racist. Hey, it's a simple question. What caused the Civil War? And that's it. Like when you ask them, DEI. Most of them couldn't explain to you, but they've been conditioned and they told DEI to mean black, and it doesn't necessarily mean black. More white women have had success under DEI than black folks, but they've been told and conditioned, part of that propaganda machine that DEI is black, DEI is immigrants, and you look at some of the struggles that white women are having now in the job place. You look at some of the struggles that the Asian community is having in regards to college enrollment. How those numbers have taken a dip since they've gutted DEI. Like I said, man, it's always funny when you ask them questions like I said, you didn't have to get into detail, but they always try to fumble around. Either I don't know what you're talking about, I have no clue of what you're talking about, or I throw a little God in there. And speaking of throwing a little God in there, it's a clip kind of floating around online. To kind of get it prepared here of a pastor talking about religion in this country. And let me make sure I got together. Hold on. No, I don't want to do that. No. Okay, let me see if it'll refresh for me. It was playing. Now you're acting funny. If not, then I'll have to. No, I don't want to do that. I guess I can't play this one. I'd be damned. Let me pull it up another way. Give me a second. Okay. My StreamYard. Speaking of DEI, myself, YK, Jason Fatlock, associate in the picture. Yeah, I've kind of kept a little bit up on kind of kept up a little bit on Marcellus Wiley news. I'm not overly surprised. I mean, but then again, to me, honestly, Naps, him being involved in a domestic situation, is it really like groundbreaking news? That another former athlete, is having problems. Okay, let me see something here. Let me see if I can find it another way. Oh well, fuck it. I guess I'll have to. I can. No, I'll stop. No, because I want to play it. I want to play it. Let y'all be great. Yeah, beautiful. This is like I've been doing well throughout the show. I'm just gonna have to try to see if I can find it another way because give me a sec. I would not be determined. Where's it at? What's his name? Langston. Give me a second. Oh man. It's been a pretty small show. Damn, I can't find it. This is gonna fucking piss me off. Oh, this is gonna piss me off and it's slowing me down. You won't let me play this shit. Oh, I was spelling it okay. Pastor Livingston. Okay. I need a short version. You know what? I'm gonna have to follow back up with this one because these are too long. Oh well. Let me see if I can get it to play one more time. Let me do it this way. I don't want to play this shit. It is slowing me down. Oh, fuck it. That pisses me off. Fuck it. Okay, I just have to find it another way tomorrow or another day. Fuck it. All right, let's not slow the show down anymore. That was a nice, good pace there. Right, excuse me. Our word, listen. I know the good brother Max was doing some stuff on the Marcellus Wiley story. For those of you that are interested and kind of follow, I think Max did a couple of shows on that. I'm not overly that interested, to be honest. But let's get into it, man. Get a pulpit, and then we'll close out tonight's show. Thank y'all for taking time to listen to little old me on a Monday. I think I got a bit of a message tonight.
The devil is a liar. Yes, he is.
All right. This is a beautiful favorite part of the show, Pulpit, where I try to leave you guys off with some positive thoughts and stuff for the rest of the week as you go for. Yeah. I got that beautiful. I think I got something tonight. And the message I wanna kind of relay tonight. I kind of give you a little backstory on it. You know, I like to be when asked to. I would say this. I like asked to, and not when I don't like to throw wisdom or my thoughts on people like that. When asked to, I like to provide some kind of guidance and wisdom. Some clarity to certain situations when asked to. It might give my clear thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But and sometimes people take that advice, sometimes they don't. It doesn't hurt me either way. I appreciate the thought of someone having thinking that highly of me to even ask for my opinion. So I'm humbled by it as always. But I mean, the message I want to kind of get out tonight is you're not responsible for someone else's refusal to grow. Sometimes you and this is with family, friends, associates, whatever, co-workers, you find yourself you want to be helpful, you want to see people in a better situation, whether it be financially, mentally, spiritually. You want to see people in a better situation. If you got some kind of a conscience of yourself, you don't want to be around people that are always miserable. You don't want to be around people that are always suffering, and you want to do the best you can, do as much as you can to kind of help them to kind of grow. Where it may be, pointing them in the direction of a new job, pointing them in the direction of, hey, maybe you need to find some counseling, get out of that relationship you're in, find somebody that'll treat you right. But you got to understand, you are not responsible for someone else's refusal to grow. Some people are happy in the chaos. Some people do not want peace. Some people are happy in the chaos. They don't know how to function in peace. Like it's almost like a soldier that has been at war all their life. They only know how to be at high alert. And no matter what you try to do to kind of get them out of that space, to kind of get them to a better place, a better, not necessarily, mentally, giving a workout to it. You want to do all of this, but listen, you can support people, you can understand people, you can care about people, but you cannot become their conscience. You cannot become. I can't help. I'm not responsible for your refusal to grow. I'm not. I will assist in any way that I can. I will provide any help if asked. It's something that I can provide, but I'm not responsible for your refusal to grow. And people that are like that, the energy vampires. An energy vampire will always be in a state of chaos. Will always be in a state of misery, and always want you to keep lending the hand. It's their way of staying attached to you. It's their way of staying attached to you. To keep draining you, and then you're doing so much for them. You're putting so much in them, but you cannot become their conscience. At the end of the day, all I can do is provide you with options. Only thing I can do is provide you with possible resources, possible alternatives. But accountability has to come from inside them. And there's nothing you can do, no matter how much you give. For some people, it will never be enough. No matter how much you overextend yourself, how much you offer them, it'll never be enough. Because why? Because they refuse to grow. Some people like being in the state of being needy. And those are the kind of people you got to cut off. Those are the kind of people you got to get away from you. I don't mind doing I don't mind doing whatever I can to help somebody that I rock with, whether it be in the virtual space or in real life. If I rock with you, but at the end of the day, I know I cannot be your conscience. Accountability has to come from within. Eventually, you have to want better for you. No matter how much I may want you to be happy, no matter how much I want you to be in a better place, in a better space, at the end of the day, you have to want it. And if you, it's an accountability thing. That's the question they got to ask themselves, and it's not on you to try to understand it. Listen, I stopped doing that a long time ago. A long time ago. You are listen, and you have to, get out of that mindset. It's not your responsibility for their refusal to grow. It's not your responsibility. You want to stay. I like that word there, stagnant. If you want to stay stagnant, if you want to stay in the same foxhole, fighting whatever battle you fighting, and I'm giving you an exit route. I'm giving you tips on how to better fight your battle. You in the foxhole with your damn 38 midnight special, and I'm trying to provide you with a different kind of arsenal to fight this war that you fight. But at the end of the day, I'm not responsible for your refusal to grow. You want to keep using that 38 special, knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. And when you take real accountability for where you want to be in life, and you need assistance, trust me, I'll help provide it. But it is not my responsibility to be, my responsibility to be your conscience. You're right. You can't help anyone that refuse to help themselves. And that is a hard lesson for people who are natural givers. When it is your when it is on your spirit, I wouldn't even call it your calling. When that is in you to want to see people do better and be better. When that is in you, trust me, it is hard to kind of cut the umbilical. Listen, man, I can't help you grow no more, man. You refuse to grow. You refuse. And I'm gonna let you stay there. I have to let you stay there. I have to let you stay there. You're not finna listen. You're not finna empty my cup. I'm not going to keep watering this plant and I don't see nothing growing. Cause baby, the soil is bad. Oh, hello. Maybe the soil is bad. Maybe I'm trying to plant my seeds in unfertile soil. And for my people that are into like gardening and stuff, like sometimes you got to do a soil test to make sure what you put now can actually grow. Hello. Hello. Let me get a sip of water on that. I also want to give a shout out before we close out tonight's show to the sick and the shut in that are enjoying their summers. You are still thought of around here very highly. I hope you're enjoying your time off and all of that good stuff. Trust me, I will be enjoying mine. Only time when it comes to not listen, keep even with that, I can give you the game, I can give you the rules, but if you still don't know how to play this, it's like spades, keeper. I could teach you how to play spades, but if you really don't know how to count books, you're gonna still be at a disadvantage. I can give you the basics, but until you're ready to excel, that is entirely on you. That's a good analogy. I like that one. I like that one. Like spades. Ain't no sandbags in life. But anyway, Hope you guys have a good week, man. For those of you that that rock with me, man, y'all know where to find me and all that good stuff, man. It has been a pleasure as always to kind of get together on this Monday. Thanks for taking the time to listen to little old me. Hope you got something out of tonight's show. Matter of fact, beautiful harvesting parts, LA woman. I got you. See if I can pull up something, put together a little less something. Yeah, Keith. I figured you like that one. You like this, and side note, man. I don't do possible. I don't like doing possibles, man. I like count books made. I play. I'm old school. I play with sandbag rules. So if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. I can teach you, but if you can't play, you can't play. Only thing I do is put the cards in your hand. You got to make it work. But anyway, man, let me get my ass up out of here, man. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm done enough. I'll see if I can find a better version or a playable version. I'll say that a playable version of that clip. Maybe I'll do something on that a little bit at another time. But let's see. Let's see. Keep it. Listen, it's supposed to be a collaborative effort. It's supposed to be a collaborative. I'll see if I can cobble something together for some talking points on that. See, beautiful comes in. It's put a little pressure on the brother. Hey, you so beautiful. Beautiful just comes in and enjoys the show. And she comes in and like, yeah, homework. Homework. But I say it's all love, man. And I would say this to my executive producer in the sky, Gator. I hope you're doing well. I know you ain't been around. I know basketball season, when it starts up, you'll be back around talking your shit. Probably when the football season starts, you'll be back. Hope you're doing well out there. Also for my seeking the shed, I hope y'all doing well. I'm gonna see y'all around, man. Enjoy for the phrase that pays around here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.